Sound travels a lot out here. It started actually, Jared was an intern of mine. Jared Kalina was.
My uncle's a golf course superintendent, and he met Kyle before I ever met Kyle and told me, hey, this is somebody you need to go work for. I took his advice, called Kyle up. He had me out.
And the first time I met Jared, I was like, oh no, this is not gonna work. He grew up in Omaha, big city, it had been in Chicago, and it was like, I don't think he really wanted to come out here, to be honest with you.
It's like going to the surface of the moon a little bit. I'm from Omaha, Nebraska, so I thought, west of Lincoln was just cornrows and the interstate. And then you got all the way to the Rocky Mountains, and then something interesting happened again. But sure enough, if you turn off in North Platte and you go north, the sandhills of Nebraska is one of the most incredible things I've ever seen. So it shocked me how amazing the place was and how I liked golf, but I didn't quite understand why or what about it. And then you see like maybe the greatest architecture out there, and you go, I don't know, it just clicked. It was a seminal moment in my life, really, of just seeing this and going, okay, this is why people travel all over and do this for a living and do this for love. And it's incredible. It's an incredible feeling.
Jared was my first intern that I ever had here at Sandhills. It had been 2008. My first year was 2007. We didn't have any interns, and I got to become good friends with Dave Hensley, who was the superintendent at Ballyneal at the time. And Dave and I thought it'd be fun to just, hey, why don't you get your guy over to see my place and vice versa. So we did it for a week, and it was good. Jared thought it was fun. Then Jared became my assistant, and Jared, he's one of my closest friends. I love the man. Jared and I'd pick him up. He'd ride with me to work every day. We had a lot of time to talk about stuff.
We had talked about it for years. We had talked about how it would be nice to just show people a different experience. I had had a lot of discouraged kids in school come back and talk about how they were just, the head weed eater or the head fairway watering guy, and they just did the same thing for 90 days. They didn't talk to their superintendent. They didn't get any experiences that were valuable moving forward. So I guess I just wanted to make sure that I did something for someone else that he did for me. And that was put an arm around me, really, and tell me the real ins and outs of the business. Not just make me a tool, please go weed eat, go check the greens. It was, hey, why don't you come to this meeting with me? Here's our budget. It's real, letting me inside in the ropes and letting me see how the sausage gets made, I guess. And it was invaluable to me. And I just thought, why don't we try to do this for others,
And then he ends up getting the job at Ballyneal, and it just seemed like, man, we got to try to at least make this work.
It honestly came out of an internship crunch too. I'm sure you guys know about just how numbers are down, enrollment's down. We weren't getting a bunch of candidates anymore when I first started, so we thought, why don't we combine these two places? Who else is going to be able to offer, two top 100s in the same summer that are with enough similarities and enough differences to really give you a better experience than spending one summer at one place. So 2018, we finally got enough candidates, we got our stuff together, and finally got everything lined up, and we finally got to get off and running with a post and to get our first class of kids.
We've tweaked it a little bit as it's gone by, but it's basically what we talked about. And kids, now they get twice as much gear too. They get Sandhills and Ballyneal gear, so I think that's pretty awesome. If you can go to one great golf course, two's always better, right?
Tell us about your turf interns this year.
We have 4 interns. You know, this year is an interesting year. It's an interesting year you guys are here because we don't have a ton of the traditional students. You know, Dustin Delland is from K-State. He's he's 30. You know, reinvented his. You know, he's changing his careers, and I like that kind of stuff. You know, like he put his whole life online to do something different.
Yeah. So I'm Dustin Deland, one of the 4 interns out here at the Sandhills Ballyneal dual internship. So my first degree was in human biology. I was leaning toward dentistry. After I graduated, I was like shadowing different dentists, and I was like, I don't know about this. And I was like working in the restaurant industry, and I started doing that for a little bit. And then I moved to Wichita and I sold beer. So I did that for a while. And then I had a house that I inherited up in Overland Park, Kansas. And I moved up there, and I thought I was gonna do the same thing. I felt like I had a much better gig down in Wichita, and it wasn't like translating up to Kansas City. So I was like, okay, well, that plan is now upside down. So what am I gonna do? And that's when I started looking into golf. Golf is kind of my passion. It's always been my passion. I grew up on a golf course. I worked in the car barn. I worked a couple summers in maintenance. I've always really enjoyed the work. You know, like the being outside aspect of it, and like the camaraderie with the crew and all that.
How old were you when you went back to school?
31.
31.
So that was like kind of shocking, you know? I hadn't done that in like almost 10 years. I like to think I look a little younger than 31. I don't know. But honestly, I try not to think about the age because to me, really, like the experience aspect is probably more important. So, you know, it's probably most important for me just to get as much experience in turf grass as I can. And I think that'll really pay the most dividends going forward.
So what did you know about Sandhills before coming?
I didn't know much. I had a friend who had played it once, and the only thing he said was it was super remote out in the middle of frickin' nowhere. And then Kyle, you know, filled me in on some little details. Like, there's a gas station. I'm like, okay, that's good. In the interview with him, he was just like, do you know anything about Mullen? You know how remote it is. He kept keying on that. Like, are you okay with that? He's like, I know you're from Kansas, but are you sure you're going to be fine with this?
Mullen is 500 people. And then the closest Walmart or the closest place to get, you know, a sit-down diner is 70 miles one way. So living in Mullen isn't for everybody.
I'm like, Kyle, yes, I'm sure. I'm 100% sure. I was like, that sounds perfect for me. So in Kansas, we have the Flint Hills. The sand hills out here just completely different. The rolls on them seem to be just smooth, and when I got probably, 5 hours into my drive and finally getting close and made the turn and started seeing the landscape, it blew me away. All the blowouts and the sand, I mean, this is just straight sand. Like going into the town and seeing the town, I was like, this is perfect. Like seeing our intern house, I was like, this is gonna be great for 6 weeks. We'll go to Big Red's tonight and we got a little, place to eat and a little bar. It only says open till 8, but that's okay. But yeah, thus far, it's everything I need and everything I thought it would be.
You know, we're probably as isolated as any place, maybe not any place, but in the United States, we're pretty isolated. But I think we're probably a lot less isolated than you live in your city and you don't know the person that, shares your apartment, down the hall. You have a hard time doing anything in Mullen and not everybody knowing. Sometimes that's not for everybody, but it's just small town and we love it. My wife and I both love it. Our kids, we wouldn't raise our kids anywhere else. Well, I think I've said it before and we'll say it forever. We don't exist without Mullen. We just don't. it's hard to explain unless you're kind of in it and around it. We have, I've got cousins, uncles, brothers, I have myself, my first assistant, Jared Sperlin, my second assistant, Austin Huddle, great kids. So there's the three of us. I have a full-time mechanic, Dan. And then I usually have a couple, you can call them foremen, whatever, just a couple extra guys that are either high school or college or something. And that's the 5 or 6 of us as we lead up into the season, Nebraska gets out of school early, high school, so my kids got out about, I think it was the 11th of May. So we go from 6 to 25, give or take, in about a 2-week period. So we go from not getting anything done to getting a whole bunch of stuff done. And then as the season progresses, so the season opens, usually we open the Friday before Memorial Day, standard. We're at full staff by that time, and we remain at full staff until school starts back up.
Catfish.
Most of my kids are high school and college age kids, and they're all the same kids. They're all just hardworking, honest kids to start with. So they make my job pretty easy.
What were some of your first impressions of Kyle and how he ran his operation at Sandhills?
First impression, this guy's a wild man, really.
It seems like out here, as far as maintenance, obviously Kyle's kind of like the mayor.
Things you guys didn't know about me. I love flowers. We'll give Maddie a few more minutes.
He's brash.
Oh, yeah. Bruce, you look amazing today. Thank you.
He is direct.
Man, these NBA games have been awesome to watch, right? Just blow out, blow out, blow out. Keep an eye on these 2 hooligans, okay?
He is forthright.
Maddie. It's never Maddie. Now the interns are out Mullen, so you and Brooke keep an eye on them, okay? Please. Okay. Don't let them go wandering off into the abyss.
And it was unlike an experience I'd ever had with a manager.
Yeah, she's here. Good. You're fine. You're not late. That's totally fine. You're never late. I just get worried.
But he's a great coach. He cares about everybody from top to bottom and his staff, and a real inspiration to me to this day still, truly.
Just honestly a good group of young kids out here, which is, I've worked at a couple of golf courses, and this seems very unique, to have a full staff of, younger kids and some females as well. It's cool. And like I said, Kyle's kind of the mayor of all that.
With the interns, tell me about their evolution throughout this program.
There's a lot of places that don't even want kids that don't have much experience. We don't care. We really don't. We try to keep each kid individual, meaning there's no judgment. But they're going to get more acclimated to the golf course the first 2 weeks they're here more than anything. Here's, because it's a little overwhelming. We don't have signs. We don't have, it's a lot.
Has that intern ever gotten lost on a golf course?
Oh my God, every year, for sure.
I do not know my way around yet. I know the back 9 goes that way and the front 9 goes that way. I mean, if you blindfold me and you take me out on the golf course, I would struggle maybe telling you where I am. I could maybe get back just because this thing is just kind of the center and just find this. They call it the beacon of light, but yeah, I still don't know yet.
And then once they kind of get acclimated, we really start trying to, I sit down with these kids and let's talk about what do you want to learn? What do you think you need to, and some kids, it's pretty basic stuff. And other kids, it's much more advanced. Some of them are going to get on spray rigs. Some might be too advanced. We don't want to just make it this carbon copy thing. The most basic task is mowing greens, walk mowing greens. If you're not at a top end club anymore, not many people walk mow greens. I mean, that's kind of the gold standard. It's not that hard, Anybody can learn that, I think. So for more advanced stuff, I just try to talk with them all the time about how do I make decisions. That's what I want. That's how you become a good turf manager as far as you got to be willing to make changes. You got to be willing to say, oh, okay, well that used to work, but I think something's new here. And we try to give them that skill set. That's the advanced stuff. You don't have to be a super turf student. We want people that are interested in doing what we do, golf course superintendents, to have an opportunity to do it at what we think is a pretty cool place. Cool place is, and learn, enjoy it. I love what I do. I know Jared loves what he does.
There's certain aspects of greenkeeping that you take to right away if you really like it. I mean, there's just certain parts of the day, certain jobs, certain tasks that you're just going to be enamored with immediately. Other things are more of a labor of love, and we all understand that some of it's not going to be the most enjoyable, but the end product is what we're all here for, and we all enjoy putting that out. So
I think the main thing is like the golf aspect of it. I mean, I love golf. I love being around golf courses. I love kind of like getting up early and being here when the sun rises. Like, it's pretty. I definitely like that aspect. I don't think I initially went to K-State because I was interested in grass. You know, that wasn't my main motivation for going there whatsoever. I think my main motivation was hey, I like golf, I want to be around golf, and I think that's why I decided to do the turf grass.
here at Ballyneal, you're an intern that's pretty much my assistant.
You gotta make the decision, okay, do I let it ride or do I need to hit it with water, to keep it alive?
Riding the line is all about hanging in between good, healthy grass and dead grass.
There's something about turf management and just being out here that kind of draws me in, so we'll see what happens.